we'll do a serious one.
Yeah.
So joining you live from the World Championship 2023 in Barcelona, the Living Legend podcast.
Well, as I mentioned, we are recording, so if we just want to crack into this, we can do.
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah.
And I'm the host for today, as we sort of mentioned. So hello.
Yeah.
Welcome back to another episode of the Living Legends podcast, your one-stop shop for everything flesh and blood related.
That's right.
I am Bill from the Spike Feeders and from the Living Legends podcast, and joining me as always are my two lovely co-hosts. Let's go alphabetical order because I think I went reverse last time. To Az.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Yeah, not bad. I've got quite a lot of stuff going on this week. I recently did, as of today, as of recording, when you're hearing this, yesterday, a channel update on my YouTube. So it was 30 minutes long of me just going on and on and on about what my channel is going to be doing going forward into 2025 and all the stuff that I've done this year and the ethos and all the mindset that's behind it. So yeah, feeling good. And yeah, just can't wait to round this year out with a nice little trip to Japan, and yeah, see what happens next year, I guess. But yeah, feeling good and looking forward to speaking about some cards today.
Yeah, that's going to be the main thing that we're doing. That's going to be a cool trip too, being able to head over to Japan.
Yeah.
Obviously, our second co-host, Kel, has had no shortage of opportunities to go to Japan this year.
And Asia in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to be going to Singapore in like 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go to Singapore to do casting for the Ascent Singapore for Grand Archive. So I will have spent only a couple days. It's not really a vacation thing. This one's more of like a quicker business trip. So I'm only going to be gone for about, I don't know, 5-ish days. And like a solid 2.5 of those days are just travel time because it's a 20-hour trip.
Wow.
20-hour flight. So it's a little rough.
How does that?
Looking forward to the flight.
How does that
I'm
go
looking forward
then?
to the event,
Do you
though.
stop off in Europe or do you go the other way? Which way do you go?
I'm West Coast, so I live in Portland, Oregon. So we just transfer at a big international airport. Even though Portland's a decently sized airport, it's not one of the major hubs. So typically, like when I go to Japan or whatever, I've had to transfer at Seattle or San Francisco. And this time I'm going to be transferring in San Francisco. So it's going to be like an hour and some change flight down to San Francisco, hour and so layover, and then like a 19-hour flight over nonstop to Singapore.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a long one.
Yeah.
But
That'll be good.
cool. It'll be my first time in Singapore. I'll be doing casting with a good friend of mine, Ignitius, who I did Shadowverse casting with, and I'm also doing Shadowverse casting with him this weekend.
Nice.
So the end of September is quite busy for me. Also, hi, I'm Kellen. I didn't introduce myself. I'm Kel, Red Zone Rogue. Hello. And yeah, this month is busy for me for casting gigs and all that kind of stuff. And I play a lot of card games and cover a lot of card games over on my channel, Red Zone Rogue. And everyone decided to dump their sets all at the same time. So we have obviously Rosetta. That's what we're here to talk about today. But literally a new WeCross set dropped last week. And then on October 11th, both Shadowverse Evolve and Grand Archive, my like really big focuses right now, drop a sets at literally the same day. So
Wow. Yeah.
yeah, these couple months are busy. So I'm quite busy with all that kind of stuff. But
Fun.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
lots of cards
Yeah.
to talk about, including the ones we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, so
Segue.
that's our plan for this episode is to this is our we usually do this with every set, but we've picked our top 5 favorite cards of Rosetta.
That's right.
And as always, this is not necessarily the cards that we think are the strongest or the biggest meta contenders or whatever. These are the cards that just stuck out to us the most.
Yeah.
Sometimes by just sheer coincidence, they are the strongest cards because the strongest cards usually are pretty dang cool. But yeah, we just have our top 5 each. And we're going to go through and just say a little bit about them and kind of why we picked them.
Yeah.
So as the host of this episode, I'll kick us off, and starting off with honestly a pretty strong one in my opinion. Maybe the best headpiece for Runeblade that currently exists.
Starting off there, are we? Okay then.
Yeah, we're gonna start off huge.
I don't think it's the best headpiece for Runeblade. I think it might be one of the best headpieces in the entire game, actually.
That's extremely possible, honestly. But what we're talking about is Face Purgatory.
That's right.
So this is a legendary Runeblade headpiece with Blade Break 2. And when this defends together with an attack action card and a non-attack action card, so you have to block with this and 2 other specific cards, but doing that allows or gets you the ability of the attacking hero discards a card and you draw a card. Crazy, right? Like you do have to, like, if you treat this as this is going to be your big block, you are like for sure blocking with an attack and a non-attack. Most Runeblade decks care about a pretty decent mix of those 2 types of cards, so I don't think there's going to be many chances for you to like whiff when you need to block with this. You will likely have an attack and a non-attack. You're kind of incentivized to block with it early in a turn as well, especially against decks that go wide.
Yeah.
Because of that discard and draw. So it kind of functions in that way like a Scowling Fleshbag, where you can pick your spot and really disrupt your opponent on a turn where, you know, they've figured everything out, but you know, they do get to choose the card that they discard, but that can still be pretty rough in terms of, you know, how effective a turn can be. And the fact that this rebuys one of the cards that you used to get its effect off is really nice. So you're kind of only getting rid of 1 card, but you're still getting the block value from it.
Especially
I think this card is nuts.
Especially in hindsight of what we've just seen in this set as well, with like Aurora wanting to set up things like embodiments to give maybe cards that don't necessarily have go again. So you can really stop those big massive turns now with stuff like this and Scowling. So more classes that have this ability to disrupt on board, I think is quite nice to stop that sort of stuff from happening, which is always good, and why it's one of your favorites. Clearly.
Yeah, it is also one of my favorites. I actually think it might be the best card in the entire set. It's a card that's insanely powerful. It starts in play, you always have access to it. It can single-handedly completely destroy your opponent's turn, have a huge block, replace, you know, draws you another card, so it also filters, and then it also completely disrupts your opponent's hand. So if they're waiting on an attack reaction, if they want to do more attacks, it just kind of wrecks them. It's quite nasty, because like, think about it this way, right? If the opponent attacks with one thing and then they pitched a card to play for it, so maybe they have some resources floating or something like that, they have 2 cards in their hand, it's likely, unless they're both like 0 cost go again type stuff, that they're going to need both of those cards to play one another, right? That's just kind of how it works. And so making them discard one of them is just brutal. And we were talking about before the show, but I think it's like almost like 3 cards worth of value in a single card, because you have to use 2 cards to block, sure. But you also draw the card to replace itself. So that kind of like nets you one additional point of card value. And then your opponent discards a card, which gives them negative card value, which you can kind of see as virtual card value for yourself. So it's kind of crazy. And the ask is like minimal, because it's just Runeblade, and you're gonna be doing Runeblade stuff anyway. So you likely want attacks and non-attacks anyway. And a lot of the Runeblade ones block for 3. So you're blocking for probably, you know, between like, I don't know, 6 and 8 points of value. It's gross, and you're only down like 1 card after you do that, right? You can still have a 3-card hand. It's stupid. It's stupid. You block 8 and still have a 3-card hand, and your opponent has a -1. I don't know.
It's kind of crazy to think of that. You're using 1 card plus an equipment. So you're using like, because you get the card back, like you said, you end with 3 cards and you're down a headpiece and the 1 card in your hand. So you're kind of using a card in your hand and your headpiece to potentially disrupt your opponent's turn entirely, which I would take that. I would absolutely take that, and then also block 6 or 8.
Here's another way you can think about it, right? would you discard a card that blocks for 3 to force your opponent to discard a card? Like discard a card and block for 3, and your opponent discards a card. That's basically what it does, right? Like on block, you have to discard a card. You technically just discard 2. You draw another one, and then it also forces your opponent to discard a card. Like even if I would run a card that literally just says discard me, your opponent discards a card. Like I would run that, and this is better than that. So, this is nuts.
Yeah, discard
So
can
crazy.
just, again, because we were speaking about it last week and the week before with regards to the card bans and why cards are so vital in this game is because they do everything. They pitch, they block, they attack. So discarding cards, is just a fantastic mechanic in general. It can slow a lot of things down and can screw their pitch over, can screw their blocks over. It can screw loads of things over. So definitely makes sense.
Yeah. It's funny though, because like I think the best case scenario for your opponent when they're facing down this card is like, oh, I was just gonna arsenal that card anyway. And it's like, okay, but now you don't have an arsenal. And that's the sort of percentage point value that accrues over the course of a game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like thinking about this card, the only time this card doesn't do anything is if you're playing against a class like Guardian or something where they pitch their entire hand and do 1 attack, like a single attack. They can't do reactions. If they sandbag a reaction, that's going to get discarded, right? So it has to just be like a single attack, like a Macho Grande or whatever. That's the only time this card isn't like that great. But I mean, if that's the worst case scenario, then you got a really good card, right?
If the worst case scenario is you block 2 on your armor, you're loving life, really.
Yeah, like
so
even if this just counts as an Iron Rot +1, that's still fine.
I mean, honestly, even against like Guardian decks, you're probably still going to find a use case for it because I know a lot of Guardians like to run their pummels and all that kind of stuff. So you just wait for that, right?
Yeah, they're like, I have, I'm attacking with this big thing, whatever, Oakenold with 2 resources floating and a card in hand. It's like, okay, face Purgatory, cool.
I will say, it's also bad against like Dominate and that kind of effect because it limits the number of cards you can block with. So it obviously won't work with that kind of stuff. But I mean, I'm still certain you'll probably be able to find a situation where you could use it. And if your opponent's like making their turns worse to play around it, then I mean, that's great, right? If you're the base Purgatory player and your opponent's making bad plays, you're like, oh, cool.
Yeah, they keep designing these headpieces that warp just how the game is played. And like I've said multiple times, many times in the past, that's my favorite card design. Like Mask of Momentum, now a Scowling Fleshbag, and now Face Purgatory. Just all kind of do that thing. And it's phenomenal. But anyway, we've spent a lot of time on this one card, and we have 14 more to go. So let's kick it over once again alphabetically to Az. What's the card you want to talk about first?
So the first one I want to talk about, I'm just getting it up on the stream here, is a card called Current Funnel. This is a Majestic, and this is one of the cards I pointed out maybe last week or the week before with regards to the art. I just absolutely love the art, but the actual card effect itself is very, very good. So for people, Aurora is the background of this stream, just because she's and the background of my screen as well. So you're getting a bit of Auraception going on here. I've been playing a lot of Aurora recently, just jamming some games online as part of my new Team Turd, Flesh and Blood team, which you might have heard of if you follow me on the internet. So Current Funnel is a 0-cost 3-block blue card, which attacks for 2, and it's a lightning action, Majestic. If the last action card you played this turn was lightning, this and the next attack action card you play, next action card, you play this turn get go again. So not only is it a blue block 3, which you need a lot of resources in Aurora decks, it seems at the moment, but if you've played a lightning card before this will then become a 2 go again, which then gives your next action card go again. So you could then buff up something. You could give go again to something that doesn't normally necessarily have it, like a CNC or an E-Strike, draw a card, go again, that sort of stuff. So I think it's just The blue block 3 is the part that Lightning doesn't have a lot of. So if you look at all the Lightning cards on the internet, on Fabry or what have you, there isn't many blue block 3 Lightning cards that then synergize with Aurora, but this is one of them. But the effect on this just happens to be very, very useful as well. Sometimes it is hard to play a Lightning card before this if you don't have the right hand, but it's still very, very good as a resource card. So I just think it's very, very good in general. And I just realised I haven't had it flashed up this entire time, but there it is for the audience watching this. But yeah, I just think it's cool. Really like it.
Yeah. I think this card sits in much the same sort of utility space as Shadow of Ursa in Shadow Runeblade.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty easy to make that comparison because it has the same stat line. It's a blue 0, 2, 3. But the fact that it gives itself go again from doing something that you already want to do, like with Shadow of Ursa, you're banishing a card with Blood Debt to give it go again. But the fact that this also gives the next thing go again is wild. I think that's definitely what pushes this into Majestic tier. I think it deserves to be in there. If it just said like this gets go again, I think it could be a common, honestly.
Yeah, any action.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Any action card after this as well. It doesn't have to be an attack. It can be an action. I haven't figured out if you play an action card which doesn't have go again, what that could result in. Read the runes could then get go again or stuff, but
that's exactly what I was going to say, that you just read the runes into essentially just a Revel in Runeblood. You like attack with your weapon after that, and it's like, okay, cool, that was another 0 for 3 that is harder to block because it's rune chance and whatever. Like, I still think that's crazy, and that's like a pretty medium use case, I think.
Yeah.
I think the top end would have been, and I think this might be one of the reasons, not specifically this why I got banned, but something like Toma Fiendel would have gone like crazy with this, right?
Oh yeah.
It just draw 2, go again. Like pretty nuts. So
then
that makes sense. It's banned. So I would look at anything that like draws you cards. I think would be really crazy with that.
Well, I have some bad news about cards that draw cards.
yeah. Well, there's still some. They kept some around. But yeah, most of the really good ones are gone.
You can play the rune. The Runeblade one or the Runeblade Tome already has go again, I think, right? Tome of the Arc Knight.
Yeah, it does.
It does. But it's the one that's like they didn't ban it because it has high whiff potential. I like this card because it does feel really well balanced. Bill was talking about Shadow of Ursa, and that card's really good because it's like free, right? You play it from your banish zone. It's not part of your hand. This card has to be either part of your hand or from your arsenal. So like, in order to get maximum value out of this card, you have to at least play like 4 cards, right? You have to play the first card. You have to play. Oh no, 3. Yeah, you need four cards worth of value. So you need the first card. You play this card to give it go again. To give the next thing go again, and then you need one other thing to play to maximize the go again from the previous card. So you actually need 4 like things to do in order to maximize and actually use all the action points for this card. So this is a very big like I know block and then go really, really big. Even if the 4th thing is just attacking with your weapon, you're still going to need like resources to do that and to do all this other stuff. So I think this card's well balanced and does push really wide turns, but you need a lot of cards to do it.
The thing that's beautiful about that, though, is that this is an enabler for like when all the pieces come together. But if it doesn't, it's a blue block 3.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
That's right. Yeah.
This is like perfect. They could have made this yellow. A lot of lightning cards that seem to be yellow, but yeah, they made this blue, so it's a perfect pitch card. It blocks 3, which a lot of lightning cards don't really do either because they're they're supposed to be aggressive. Yeah. So I think this card is fantastically balanced.
As someone who played Lexi for many, many years and still technically does in Blitz, the only blue block 3 lightning that's like I can think of off the top of my head is like Heaven's Claws, right? Like
and that's in the deck as well.
It's the attack.
That's in the Aurora deck as well.
Almost all the other attacks block 2 or nothing. There's a lot of like 0 blocks and instants and stuff.
Yeah,
for lightning. Yeah, well. If I could run ball lightning, I'd still run ball lightning, but
that's That's as a complete aside, that's my favorite thing. Like Ball Lightning, the fact that they made it not block is just totally irrelevant because you'd never block with it anyway.
Yeah, I'm not blocking my Ball Lightning. I'm killing you with my Ball Lightning.
Yeah.
Why would I block with this 0 drop that has like 5-6 points of damage value on it?
Yeah.
Like,
it's like
yeah.
the most aggressive common that they've ever, the most aggressive like single common they've ever printed.
I look forward to Aurora Living Legend lists. That's for sure. We'll see how those go.
Oh yeah, Rainbow Ball Lightning.
Wild.
9 Ball Lightning.
Ball Lightning.
That's how you start. Start with 9 Ball Lightning and go from there.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, Kel, what is your first pick?
All right. Yeah, let's just go to a Runeblade action. This is Succumb to Temptation. I think this is straight up my favorite art in the entire set, which should be no one's surprise. It also doesn't really look too much like a Flesh and Blood art, to be honest. It's kind of got like this very like dark, almost like League of Legends-esque style art. I could see this being like a splash art for an alternate skin for like Morgana or something in League of Legends, like for sure.
Or Evelyn.
Yeah,
one of those types of characters.
Yeah, and I'm all for it. So Succumb to Temptation is a 0 drop, a yellow pitch Runeblade action. It blocks for 3 and does have Go Again. And it says, if you've dealt arcane damage this turn, you may play this as though it were an instant, which is incredible, by the way. So if you didn't know, the way this works with Go Again is that if you've dealt arcane damage this turn, you can play this as though they're an instant, but it still triggers the Go Again. So it will then give you an action point back. So you play this with no action point, and then you gain your action point back. It is very, very strong. We've seen other effects like this on Runeblade cards. And this also says, the next time a Runeblade attack action card you control hits a hero this turn, look at their hand, choose a card, they discard it. You get to thought seize them on hit for your next thing, and then you can play this as an instant. So you can totally debate them, right? You can have like a 2-card hand, right? You say you're attacking with something that does some arcane damage or whatever, and you have a 2-card hand, and they're just like, okay, I'll take the 1 ping or whatever, and you're like, cool, I play this at instant speed, get my action point, and then I attack you. And then now you got to lose something. Like you're either going to block this card out, or I get to look at your hand and discard something. So threatening with like a 4 attack, even like a 0 cost 4 attack is kind of crazy because they're incentivized to double block or use a valuable reaction or use their equipment. Either way, that's pretty good for you.
There's a lot of there's a lot of these arcane damage. If you've dealt arcane damage, if you February the text, if you've dealt arcane damage this turn, there's quite a lot of Runeblade cards that do adhere to that clause. One of them is actually a card that I tried out in an Aurora deck recently, and that's Consuming Volition, which is if you've dealt arcane damage, this gains if it hits, they discard a card. So it's nice to see that. I think I mentioned it maybe a few episodes ago that I love the Runeblade suite of cards that discard cards. So it's nice to see them add to that archetype with this. And the good thing about this as well is the fact that most of the time you will probably be pitching to Grasp of the Arknight to get a rune chant. So now with this in existence, it's like, oh, okay, does he have the Succumb to Temptation? If I take this 1 arcane damage from this rune chant, this pesky rune chant, that means they could get me with this bloody Succumb to Temptation if I don't block. So it punishes those non-blocking decks as well, which I think is quite nice for a Runeblade to have.
I think it's also like crazy good with any of the Runeblade attacks that hit for more than 1 arcane damage. Yeah. So there's that one, I forget what it's called, but there's that one that hits for 2 arcane damage. And that's such a nice little debate because you can do like a pitch attack with I don't know, something, and then with Go Again, and then drop that one, which I think is a 1 drop. And then you can just kind of sandbag the Succumb to Temptation and see if they take it or not. A lot of people won't even run 2 AB against Runeblades. They'll just run a single AB to prevent the rune chance. So you're almost guaranteed to like activate it. So I don't know. I think this card's cool. And I love the art. My favorite art in the set, and it's a cool effect. So
yeah,
there you go.
This card is basically the exact inverse of doing this Spellbound Creeper's Plunder Run shenanigans.
Yeah.
Except it's built into itself. Like then it gives you the extra action point, so you can kind of read this as like your next thing gets go again, or target attack gets go again. Like that's crazy in and of itself. And then the fact that, again, you can play it as an instant, so you can do it, in reactions after they've blocked with, I'm only going to block with one card or whatever. And it's well past the point of them being able to pay for Arcane, because all of your rune chants would have triggered, all of your on attack stuff would have triggered already. So it's like they have to lock themselves in. And it's like so far past the point of being too late once you actually get to play this card.
Yeah.
This card's kind of messed up.
Yeah.
Good choice.
I like it. I like it a lot. And also, it's a block 3 and pitches for 2. It's just sweet. So
It's just a block 3. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, for my next one, it's another rune chant or rune blade card, which I'm also pretty excited about, even though it is a common, and I think it's the only common on potentially any of our lists, which makes me feel important and different. But next up we have Deadwood Dirge, which is a common rune blade action, costs 0, blocks for 2, and comes in all 3 colors. And the red version, which is the one that I'm most excited about, is just destroy an aura you control. If you do, create 3 runechant tokens and then go again.
Yeah.
So the very sort of bare minimum use case for this is in a deck like Vincent or something, where you're able to banish a card from your hand to make a runechant at the start of your turn before anything else happens. You can play this as your non-attack action for the turn, which obviously a lot of rune blade cards care about. Then this creates 2 rune chants essentially, because you traded in 1 to get 3. So you go +2 on rune chants, and then it has go again inherently. And it's free. I think this card is actually like really strong. The optimal and like the, I got you use case is destroying one of the plagues that your opponent gave you off of their Codex of Frailty. You destroy the Frailty, right. You get 3 rune chants, go again. Oh, okay, cool. Now we're cooking with gas. I think this is like really sweet. There's a red line Vincent deck that's been going around and gaining a lot of popularity, and I think that this is exactly what that deck wants. It's a lot of aggression, it's a lot of flexibility, and it's split ping damage, which is always really awkward for people to deal with when you get a lot of it all in a row. I really like this card as a common. I think it's really good.
I agree. I actually think it's like it might just straight up be like a Viscerai staple now, because okay, so you mentioned like destroying one of your like plague cards or whatever, but there's also other auras you can destroy that are just like really, really good. Like the new auras, like specifically I'm looking at Sigil of Deadwood, which is an aura that has go again. It says at the beginning of your action phase, destroy this, and then when this leaves the arena, create a runechant token. So it's a 0 cost with go again. So you can play your Sigil of Deadwood and then play your Deadwood Dirge and create 4 runechants, because you sack the Sigil, make a runechant, and then you make 3 more runechants. And so with Viscerai, who will make another runechant because you're playing another Runeblade card after you played your non-attack or whatever, you're playing another non-attack. You make 5 runechants, and if you play on top of that, if you play something like Mordred Tide, each of those would make another runechant, and then Viscerai's effect would make another runechant. So that's 3 more runechants on top of it, which is these 2 with the 3 cards. God. So like I think this card's like an actual just like banger staple in like any OTK Viscerai style deck. So shout out to Goblin Reserve and Hank out there, because I think this card's kind of nuts. I even think like the yellow or the blue one also might be kind of sweet too, because just pitch it if you don't need it. Otherwise, you just make some rune chants or whatever. Like, that seems good.
Yeah.
So
genuinely, I think this card is just going to be a rune chant. Like you're saying, I think this is a rune chant staple or a rune blade staple. I think this card is kind of crazy.
And you can even and the other decks too. Like you can sack your embodiment of Earth or whatever if you don't need it. Like I think there's a lot of cases where it seems good.
Pretty sick. There's a lot of these cards now in this set that can act as the read the runes slot. So there's a lot more deck building and flexibility options now with just general rune chant creation. But
or you just run both, which I imagine is what Viscera is going to be doing. He's going to run them both.
Yeah, like honestly, in like an OTK Viscera deck, you play Sigil of Deadwood into Deadwood Dirge into Read the Runes, and you've just made like 800 rune chants, and you're like, okay, cool.
Like seriously, like on a Mordred Tide turn, that's so many rune chants, because you would also make 2 additional rune chants for every other one that you play after the first one because of Viscera's hero ability, and so you'd make an additional 1 for all the ones that you do, and then additional 2 for all the Viscera triggers. So whether it's 6, 7, 8, 9, you'd make an additional 9. I think on a Mordred Tide, you make 9 more on top of this. So 9.
So you start with Mordred Tide. You then play Sigil of Deadwood, which makes you 2.
15?
You then play... Yeah, you play Sigil of Deadwood. That makes you 2 off of Viscera's ability plus Mordred Tide. Then you play Deadwood Dirge, which destroys the thing. That creates 1, which becomes 2. The thing makes... the Deadwood Dirge makes 3, which becomes 4. So you have...
Viscera will trigger again and make another 2.
Yeah. And then you like read the runes for 4 plus or 4 or 5 or whatever. Like you make a ridiculous amount of runes.
Because it'd be 3 plus the 1 from Mordred Tide plus another 2 for Viscera. I think if I did the math right, if you sacked one of the rune chants, I think you'll end up with 15. I think it's 15 rune chants with those. 16 total if you sack something else. I think that's how it works out. So anyway, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
That's so funny.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
Wow.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
But on the topic of ridiculous cards, because I can see Az's entire list, so regardless of what he picks next, it's going to be a banger.
Yeah.
I want to build this Viscera. I want to build this Viscera deck with face Purgatory. It seems disgusting.
Do it.
Continue.
Az, what you got up next?
Cool. I've got a flexible one up next, and an interesting story to tell. Because when I first read it, I was like, why would you want to use this? Because it seems like a defensive card in a lightning deck, but it can be used in lots of different applications, and that is Electromagnetic Somersault, which is I think is a fantastic card. So let me just get this up on the screen here. But it reads mainly the red one. The other one's not really in contention, but the red one is fantastic. So this is a 0 cost lightning instant, rare. So it comes in yellow and blue as well. And it says choose up to 2 attack action cards with cost 0 or more. This is the red version. The yellow version is 1 or more. Blue version is 2 or more. On the active chain link, return them to their owner's hand when the chain link resolves. So when I first looked at this, I was like, okay, choose up to 2. So that would mean that I'm blocking with 2 cards, and then what I can do is I can play this at instant speed after I've declared my blocks and blocked out with that value, to then return those cards to my hand, which will allow me to potentially quote-unquote block in a lightning deck, but still retain those cards to then attack back with on my crackback. But then I also read that it can also be used to, if you've got like a snatch which has got go again on it, because of your embodiment of lightning or your aurora or whatever, you can then target that snatch afterwards to return that to your hand after it's done damage. So you can just return all of these epic cards, these 0 cost lightning cards or 0 cost cards that don't inherently have go again, but they do in a lightning deck, back to your hand. And there's another card on this list as well, which you can do this with, which is pretty sick, and lots of others across the board of the Lightning Suite, which this works with. So I think it's just a fantastic card, which can be used both defensively in an interesting way, which we haven't seen before, and offensively to return things and blink things. In that, I'm quoting magic effects here, but bringing those things back to your hand and then playing them again, I think is quite nice, because you haven't really had that effect in Flesh and Blood yet to this degree. So, but yeah, when I first read it, I was like, why would I want to be defending and then bringing those cards back? You know, I might as well just go face the whole time. But then I realised the offensive output of it as well. So I think it's pretty sick.
You can do something like play a lightning card, then current funnel to give your next thing go again, then play snatch with go again, then electromagnetic somersault them both back to your hand, and then do it again.
Well, it has to be on the same chain link.
It has to be the active chain link. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's So
on the active chain link. Okay,
Yeah,
so you could do one. You could return one card back. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm thinking
that's-
of the interaction with basically the next card on your list. But
Yeah.
But that's how I read it.
Yeah, so it's
that's
not
how I read
quite.
it because I read it as up to 2 action cards, and I was like, well, the only way you're going to get full value out of this is if you're blocking, right? Because you can have 2 things on the chain link if you're blocking. But then that's why I completely bypassed the offensive nature of this card also. So when I first read it, I was like, I want to block for 2 cards. They come back to my hand. Yeah, so what? But then, reading it further into the offense, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I can return that 1 card back to my hand to attack again with it, which I think is good. But yeah, imagine that. Return all cards on the chain link to your hand.
Yeah, that would be really broken.
Yeah. But yeah.
I read this and I immediately thought of like on play effects. So like I was like,
yeah.
I can get my E strike back. I can get my whatever back. You can get like it's 0 or more, so you can get anything, like whatever you can think of. If you want, get your Command and Conquer, you can get it back. You can get whatever the hell you want.
I was just about to say you could current funnel Command and Conquer with Go again, return it back, Command and Conquer again.
Yeah, you could.
Just in case they blocked it.
Oh yes, okay.
That would be that's so many resources and probably not worth it, but so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then defensively, I actually think this is really good defensively too, because if you block with 2-3 blocks, that blocks 6, and then you bounce them back to your hand. So this is essentially like a 0 drop block 6 in that regard, which is crazy good. So like, I don't know, I think this card's pretty good. Yeah. The problem is like it's exactly what Az was saying. There's not a lot of 3 blocks and like lightning. So if you have a whole bunch of lightning cards in your deck, it could be a little tricky. There's a lot of Runeblade cards that block 3, and there's a lot of generics that block 3. But still, I think it's a cool card.
Yeah, the lightning decks that I've seen and that I'm using at the moment don't have too many block 3s. So sometimes you do get stuck with a hand full of instants, and then you just die. But yeah, it's worth it because the deck's really fun. So anybody who's looking to sort of jam Aurora, I would definitely recommend it because there's a lot of intricacies in there. It is very much an aggro deck, but the amount of things that you're doing, it feels like you're doing a lot more. But then it also has that issue of why not just play. Why just not play Zen? Because obviously that's going to be still the better aggro deck. Aurora is jumping through all these hoops to do some damage, doing some cool things, but probably not doing the output.
It's everyone except for Zen, I think.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we'll see. It's fun deck though. Fun deck nonetheless, and yes, it's very very good in the late game because there's lots of split damage coming in still. So, which I'm going to mention on my list at some point.
There's some really sick stuff you could do with this in Lexi, by the way. Just saying.
Oh yeah,
you can get back your Remorseless and play your Remorseless again. You can get back your Lighted Up and double Lighted Up. Like, there's a lot of like nasty Ranger on hit stuff you can do with this. You still have to reload it, but hey, Voltaire, luckily you can do it twice. So
yeah,
I don't know. I think there's some cool stuff you
Bullseye
can do.
braces. God, yeah, I don't even think about implications for that. So yeah, maybe that's a living legend card to use potentially. But
Lexi's
or Blitz
she's still legal in Blitz, so you can still do this in Blitz.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah.
So now we're up to Kel's second pick. What you got?
Oh yeah. I'm gonna continue the Runeblade train before I go off into other territory. Another really, really beautiful artwork by a different artist this time, by Federico Musetti. This is Snuff Out. Snuff Out is a Runeblade attack action. It is a red pitch card. Attack costs 1, attacks for 5, and is 3 blocks. So 1 for 5, block 3. Pretty good stats there. And then continuing my trend, which is why I wanted to talk about this one next. When this hits a hero, you may destroy an aura you control. If you do, they discard a card. Simple, clean, really, really nasty.
Yeah.
I really love how that you don't have to destroy the aura until it hits. So you have to force them to commit to block or not. So you don't have to commit until your opponent decides whether or not it's going to happen or not, which I think is really, really sweet. Like, the way it's worded, it just says when it hits a hero, like that's after reactions and everything have passed, right? So like you don't have to actually destroy your thing until you're it's like 100% sure. And then in that circumstance, you can blow up a rune chant if you want, but you can also blow up any of the other auras that we mentioned before that are beneficial, like the Deadwood aura or whatever. And then it forces your opponent to discard a card. So to me, this card reads: rip 2 cards out of your opponent's hand, or rip at least 1 card or a lot of their equipment. It's going to cost them something, and I love cards that do that. My favorite cards in the game are cards that do that. They're all assassin cards, like Shakedown and Surgical Extraction, and all of the nasty new ones from Part the Mistveil. And this is going to enter that category of, this demands something from your opponent, and they can't just like, I take it. So I really like that. And I really like this card. And it's pretty too.
The only thing I struggle with is when this hits. So if you attack with this, all of your rune chants would have already popped. Oh no, unless you've created one with Viscerai by playing this, then you still have one left. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. I'm chatting shit. Don't worry.
I'm mostly thinking about it in terms of Viscerai. Yeah, I mean, you can use this stuff in like Vincent, or technically you could use this in Aurora, I guess. In fact, this might be really good in Aurora. I'll have to think about it in terms of that.
Yeah.
It's only a 1-drop, so being able to like end your big old chain with just a 1-drop that hits for 5 and makes them discard a card seems pretty good. But
that's kind of the crazy thing about this one is, in somebody like Aurora, if you were playing a card like this, like you're attacking your opponent and they've decided, okay, I'm going to cut my losses and I'm going to take X amount of damage this turn so that I have a good crackback. And you're going through the motions, and then you're like, all right, Snuff Out, and you have like something in play. You have you have another aura of some variety in play, and they're just looking at it and they're like, oh my god, no.
Yeah.
Like you can even combine this with Az's other cards, right? Like you can even like bounce it back to your hand. You can give it go again with the funnel. It's just a 1-drop, so it's like really easy to play again.
I'm just thinking of
any aura you have.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of what auras you would have left behind after this, though. After this comes in, maybe
I mentioned the Deadwood, like the Deadwood, any of the ones
sigils
that kind of just stick around.
Yeah, so that's a good point. So when it comes in at the very end, if you've established a lightning sigil, which is in the Aurora list, it's the blue one that when it leaves the arena you get an embodiment. That would be a really good synergy if you could end the chain with this. Make them discard, and then make your embodiment stick around for your next turn to kick that off. That could be, it could be a really good chain ender if you've got the setup for it. Otherwise, it's just a 1 for 5, which could also be quite good. So I might actually consider that as well. I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
It's more free in Viscerai, where you're basically just going to have an extra rune chain anyway. But
that's what I'm thinking. Yeah,
it's like insanely free in Viscerai. This deck's starting to sound really cool. But yeah, with like Sigil of Conductivity, you can just like sandbag it until your opponent's like, it's fine, no blocks, and you can be like, okay, instant speed Sigil, destroy it, you discard a card. That's the card that. That's the card that Kel was just talking about like a little while ago. Instant speed, discard this, your opponent discards a card. This card makes Sigil of Conductivity into that. That's crazy.
So all the sigils are instants, aren't they?
No, not all.
No, like the Deadwood one is just the action with go again, right?
Yeah. Oh, the lightning ones Deadwood are. The lightning ones are instants, aren't they?
Yeah. The Sigil of Lightning is. There's also Sigil of Forethought, but that's a wizard instant. Sigil of Conductivity. Actually, are there 2? There's Sigil of Lightning and Sigil of Conductivity. Both are lightning instant auras. One has Arcane Shelter 1, which is
the conductivity
fine.
One.
Yeah, that's the conductivity one. And then the other one is at the beginning of your action phase, destroy this. Both of them create an embodiment of lightning when they leave.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
So conductivity they're creates that as well.
Fundamentally the same.
Oh.
So you could technically do a thing where you give Snuff Out go again, and then you do the whole thing that Bill mentioned, flash in or instant speed in, Sigil of Conductivity. Destroy it, and then create your embodiment of lightning, and then you can also like bounce it back to your hand and then play it again, and then it'll go again from the embodiment of lightning or something. Like you could do some bolt BS with this stuff.
Aurora's a cool deck, that's for sure.
Aurora's a super cool deck.
It's a cool deck. Nice.
Yeah, but all right, so let's go on to let's go with another card that that provides your opponent negative value proposition that I think is really cool when you extrapolate it over the course of like what the decisions actually mean. We're going to talk about Drink 'em Under the Table. This is a new Betsy card that everybody was very excited to see. This is in the expansion slot. At least I believe it is. Yeah, it is. And it is a red 4-cost Guardian attack action that attacks for 8 and blocks for 3, and it's a Betsy spec. And when this attacks a hero, you may wager with them. The winner draws a card, and the other hero discards a card. So the thing about this card is that you literally never don't wager. Because if your opponent is blocking this, it's an attack for 8. They will have used a bunch of their equipment and cards in their hand and whatever to make sure that this doesn't hit. And then if they do that, then them drawing 1 card, you're like, yeah, absolutely. That is a totally fine value proposition for me. But then if they don't do that, you get to draw a card and you get to arsenal and you win on that every time. And then of course with Betsy's hero ability, you can make it even more guaranteed because you can just pitch 2 blues. Whenever an attack you control wagers, you pay 2. This costs 4 plus 2. Perfect. Yeah. The attack gets +1, so it becomes 9 and gets overpower.
Yeah.
Perfect card for Betsy.
It's on attack too. It's not even on hit, so it's on attack trigger to do the wager. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there's just like no reason to not play 3 of this card in Betsy, and there's no positive upside for your opponent, like basically at all, because again, to make this not hit, they have to get so many cards out of their hand. Like with it's more of a negative proposition for you with something like gold, because that sticks around at least until they have the ability to play it. With this, they just get 1 card that they can use on their turn, and it has to be used like that turn. I know that drawing cards, we've mentioned this before, I've mentioned this before, drawing cards in Flesh and Blood is really powerful, but if you're blocking with 3 cards from your hand and you get 1 back after blocking this card, I don't think you're ahead on that transaction.
I love the wager. I love the wager thing on this. It just says the winner draws a card, the other discards a card. You're not wagering physical tokens. You're wagering an effect, which is something that Olympia and Betsy could use as wager decks. I think more effects like that would be awesome to see. Because I don't think we've ever seen this subtext at the bottom here. When the chain link resolves, if this hit, you win. Otherwise, they win. I'm not sure if we've seen that text before. Because we've only had to wager tokens before. Yeah.
But yeah, and that's the other thing too. I wasn't even talking about when I was talking about the value proposition here, I wasn't even mentioning the discard a card part. Because like, if you're playing Guardian, you've attacked with this, it doesn't have go again. The last card in your hand kind of doesn't matter.
No, exactly.
Or you have no cards in your hand. So if your opponent does win it, there's no downside for you.
Yeah.
And if your opponent hasn't blocked enough for this to not hit and you win the wager, then that means they probably still have cards in their hand. So they discard 1. Like,
oh yeah, it's brilliant.
It's nuts. And then you just get to arsenal.
with Betsy, like you mentioned, like a pitch 2 blues, and then you just basically 9 them. And so even if they block it at all, they're still going to take like 6, right? They'll block 3, take 6, and then still have to discard another card. So they're down 2 cards, have taken 6. You get your arsenal, and then they have a 2-card hand for their turn, which is probably going to suck. But like, I don't know. It seems really good. And this situation is one of those times. It's like if you're playing CC, maybe you just don't block at all. Like if someone's attacking you with this, so instead of having a 2-card hand, maybe at least you can still have a 3-card hand and still try to have a turn. Yeah. So yeah, it's a really nasty card, and I think it's one of those cards that's going to do like a lot of damage and a lot of work.
Or you buy some of their equipment, etc. You force that block instead, so you can use that axis with this card also to maybe try and get some equipment out of them. But yeah, brilliant. I completely forgot this is in the set.
It kind of feels like when you put that all together, it kind of feels like this card just kind of says unblockable. Like your opponent doesn't want to put cards in front of this because there's no way for them to plus on this wager that in a way that like super matters.
Must have like Carrion Husk and some other like big fridge cards to block. But yeah, I think this is one of those cards that I look at and I see like, they're doing the Bolton thing. Like they're just making really good cards for Betsy until she's good. Like that's what they did for Bolton. They're just like, here's more cards, more every single time. There's more cards for Bolton until he's good, and then we're also gonna make an armory deck, so he's good. So Betsy armory deck in the works.
And there's going to be a fabled, like, when you pitch this wager, you know, all that sort of thing. Oh, nice! Look at that.
I'm very relieved. I'm holding up my my Marvel Betsy, adult
Nice.
Betsy. So maybe I should put a CC deck together with her and start drinking people under the table like Az taught me.
Absolutely.
You gotta build that deck for our tag team that we're gonna do.
Yeah.
That's a good idea,
I'll
actually.
drink you under the table, Scrub, and then I'll lose that bet every time against Az.
This is our table, Scrub. Yeah, beat it.
Yeah.
Absolute mojito fest. Yeah.
Or that blue, whatever that was.
Oh, God, yeah.
Whatever it was extremely blue.
Yeah.
€2.
Yeah. €2. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's my number 3. Az, what do you got for number 3?
Number 3, isn't it? So is it number 3? Yeah, because I skipped one on my list here. So the next one is one that we've actually no, we haven't talked about this one. I'm thinking of a different one. So the next one is called Arc Lightning. So this is a Aurora specialization. So I'm just bringing up. Silly, I typed in Arc onto Fabrary, and that brought up a load of cards. As you can imagine. Yep. So yeah, Arc Lightning is a Lightning Rune Blade action. It's a 0-cost yellow pitch 2-block action, and it's Aurora specialization. And it says whenever you go again this turn, deal 1 arcane damage to any target. So that's pretty good. Arcane damage. The next action card you'd play this turn gets go again. So again, you can give something go again which doesn't inherently have it, which is a good lightning trait. And then this goes again itself. So it pings for 1 immediately after this. And then everything you play after this that has go again will then ping them for 1 afterwards. But the good thing is that obviously it's a good lightning chain starter. So that will then turn on things like the current funnels, and then if you want to then play, you know, other cards that don't inherently have go again, you can then give them go again, ping extra things. If you combo this with another card that was released in Tales of Aria called Flicker Wisp, that is another one that then starts pinging them for 2 every time instead. So yeah, I think it's just a great card to have, a great enabler to really start your lightning chains. And also late game, you probably want to try and stack these to the end, because I got killed in an Aurora mirror because they had arc lightnings at the very end, and it was very, very close towards the end, and all of our armor had gone, all of our blocks weren't really effective anymore, and they were just pinging me for 1 at the end. So I think if you can get these in at the end, like the end game status, you're loving life. But again, yeah, it can be used as a nice little starter card to then give, you know, like a CNC go again, and then follow up with something else after that. So, but yeah, love the art on this as well. The full art is a lot better. The only gripe I have about this card is I don't think Aurora is centered very well on the card. Like, I think Aurora should be higher up, because there's a load of empty space at the top of the card there. That's my only sort of, yeah.
It feels like they tried to center her with her head more centered rather than her whole body more centered. That's what it feels like to me when I look at this. When they're
I mean the electric aura, I guess, is centered a little bit, but yeah, it just feels like it's a little bit further down. But yeah, sick art on the full art for that. But yeah, that's Arc Lightning, good card.
Yeah. I saw somebody mention it on the somewhere on Twitter. They posted about it, and so I looked it up just to make sure I knew what they were referring to. But the tweet just said something about Arc Lightning is maybe the strongest card they've ever printed for Shiana, and I was like,
"Oh,
I'm intrigued."
Yeah, it's pretty wild actually, because games go into any of your crap.
It gives go again to any of your crap, and you get to play Lessons in Lava and Blazing Ether.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's just incremental. It's like incremental arcane damage, and then every time you get go again, it just adds into like Lessons in Lava, Blazing.
Wow, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I didn't think about it either at all. But of course, that's what you got to look at when something has specialization on it.
Like with just lessons, that would be lessons for 5, technically, right? So you do one ping from this card, and then you'll do another ping from Lessons in Lava, which will have go again then. And then Lessons in Lava does 3, so that's 5 total arcane damage with just Lessons in Lava in this. And then you can go tutor for Blazing Ether to Dome for another.
And that's another 5,
another
so
5?
10.
Yeah, I mean Shiana's only Blitz only, so
That's
10
fine.
damage Blitz pretty good with like 2 cards.
They also mentioned with a gold, that's another source of go again, technically. So
That's right.
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
Yeah, so you now have a money gun in Fab that you can ping people with when you spend your money.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. So you could do. Okay, wait. Now I'm thinking about the Bard cards where you just make a whole bunch of gold, and then your whole point is to crack all the gold in one turn. I wonder if you could set up a similar thing like that in Shiana, right? Where you just try to make a whole bunch of gold and then crack all the gold.
Yeah.
Maybe you can maybe even do it in Aurora too, but I'd have to look at the card pool to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
But yeah, very, very cool card and a very good pick as.
Nice.
Now, Kel, what's your number 3?
All right, let's get weird. Let's go. I was going to do that one. Let's actually get weird. So I'm going to talk about a card called Truce. This is the kind of card that I just really enjoy in card games in general. So this is a majestic generic. This is a 2-drop, 3 pitch, 3 block. So it's a blue pitch, 3 block, 2-drop. Does not have go again. So this is one of those actions that I think they like to print every now and then that have like these kind of innocuous effects. Where like, I'm not saying this is on the level of Warmongers, but it operates in similar design space. So Truce says, when this enters the arena, choose an opponent. At the beginning of their end phase, destroy this, and you each gain 3 life. When you or a card you control is the target of an attack they control, destroy this and draw a card. And I really like this effect. I think it's really like interesting and cool for like Ultimate Pit Fight in particular. It might have some applications here and there in like constructed formats or anything like that, because essentially this is like a draw on layaway. So you get the draw on your opponent's turn, which means that you can actually go into your turn with a 5-card hand or a 6-card hand if you have a card in Arsenal. Because of the way draw in Flesh and Blood works, you only draw up to your hand size at the end of your turn. So this is actually like extra draw on top of that, because you draw this on your opponent's turn. It's much better than it looks, I think. So you either gain 3 life and your opponent gains 3 life, and they don't hit you for the turn, which is great. Really sucks against Wizards, by the way, because that won't trigger off them blasting you for arcane damage.
True.
But I guess that doesn't break the truce. Shooting you for like a Blazing Ether doesn't break the truce. But I think this is actually really interesting and a really cool card. And I think it's one of those cards that I think people are going to sleep on for a little while and realize it's really good. Kind of like how it was with Warmongers. I don't think it's as good as Warmongers, but I still think it's like a crazy setup card. So
I think that this card could see this. I don't know if this is me being a little bit wild or wacky and wild or something, but I could see this being a card that Zen like unironically plays, because you don't want to block with Zen anyway. And like you're saying, if they attack you, then you go up to a 5-card hand, 6-card hand. You could have a 7-card hand if they attack you with something, and then you block with boots and hat.
Yep.
Like. So the like I wouldn't want to sit across from a 7-card hand Zen, especially if they land this like early in the game, and even if they don't get it early, it's still a blue.
Box 3.
Yeah, I could genuinely see this like being a card that Zen plays, because the prospect of giving them a 7-card hand is terrifying.
Yeah, I think this card's like,
that's really funny.
Much better than it looks, and I think it's really fun. Yeah. So it's the thing. It's the same thing, like I said, with Warmongers. It's much better than it looks, and it's also probably going to be really fun or interesting in multiplayer. And so it's these kind of like things that make it really, really interesting to me and really stand out as a card. So
I will say, I will say on this as well. So you played the Teklo player in the League That Means Nothing, didn't you, Kel? Yeah. So Matt is absolutely raving about this card in Teklo, because Teklo is a very slow deck, and especially on turn 1, if you can drop this after maybe just establishing some evos and what have you, when the opponent attacks you next turn, decks that need that little bit of extra room to either use your life as a resource or establish something on board. Really like this card because it gains you some life back as well, which is good, and it just allows you to have more resources. So he's raving about this card at the moment in Tekla Vossen. But yeah, blue block 3 again is good for that deck as well because Tekla cares about a lot of blues because of the pitch on his hero ability. So yeah, it could be one to watch out for in constructed Tekla decks if they ever become a thing. So, but yeah, just thought I'd mention that also.
Yeah, no, I think Kel is right. I think this card is suspiciously good.
Yes.
It doesn't read like it right away, but I think this could see play.
Like no joke. This is one of those cards that I haven't looked at any like pricing or anything for the set yet because I haven't gone out and tried to buy cards. But if the foils for this are cheap, I'm buying a bunch. It's the same thing that happens with a lot of the cards that I see. I'm like, this is a sweet card. I'm going to buy it now because I think it's really good. And then if it ends up becoming a thing and end up being worth like $40-50, well, then I'm really glad that I already have my cards and I don't have to buy more. So, interesting lore / story implications here with what looks like a mechanologist shaking hands with an Aryan person. So, and there's a map on the table as well, which shows some uncharted or sort of ship routes between two continents. So maybe there's a little Easter egg there with regards to maybe another region or something. But yeah, a lot in this art to look at and speculate on. So that's good too.
Yep. Yeah. That'll bring us to round 4.
Round 4.
I have 2 honestly very similar cards to round out my list, so I'm gonna just pick one at random here.
Yep.
I'm gonna pick Splatter Skull. So this is a brute attack action. So this is also another expansion slot card. This is, in my opinion, kind of ridiculous. It's a red 2-cost 6 attack block 3 majestic. That says when this hits a hero, choose a face down card in their banished zone that was banished by Intimidate this turn, put it into their graveyard. So the implication of this, of course, is that you've played something like a barraging beatdown or whatever that gives this a buff to, let's say, 10. And then you attack your opponent. If they don't then fully block with, or block at least, they would have to block with at least 3 cards in that case. No, they'd have to block with 2 because it would lose the buff.
Yeah.
But then if this does hit, then the card that you intimidated just goes away forever. They have effectively fully discarded a card, which is something that Brute Intimidate notably does not do. They usually get the card back, and that's kind of the whole issue with Brute cards, where it's like, okay, well, on turn 1 you attack your opponent for a bunch after intimidating them a bunch of times. They take some damage, but then they still have a full thing to hit you back with. This just gets rid of one of them. This is a complete discard, and it's also a 6 attack, so it still works within the whole paradigm of Brute stuff. It takes buffs exceedingly well because most of the buffs intimidate, or you play things that intimidate. This card's nuts. I think this card's kind of crazy.
It blocks 3.
Yeah.
It also blocks 3. Brute cards never block.
It's cool to see that not only this, but obviously a lot of classes are getting interactive cards that synergize with what their class wants to do, which is been the sort of gripe for a lot of classes is they can output this certain damage or whatever, but they don't have any interaction, so they just they sort of lose out on those. But nice to see things like this and the other cards that we've talked about today, especially from Runeblade, that will give access to more interactive cards. So you can still combat those things as well. But yeah, it is nice to see.
Yeah, I'm just a big fan of this card. It feels very much like a Command and Conquer that's not reliant on your opponent arsenaling a card.
Yep.
Which is crazy because that's technically better. I'm not saying this card is better than Command and Conquer, but technically that effect is better.
You heard it here first. Splatter Skull's better than CNC.
Alan Reinar, I don't know.
Reinar, yes.
In Reinar, it's pretty dang good. Because you can play this and you can play Command and Conquer. You can just do both.
Do both, yeah.
Yeah, Probably will. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that one's a pretty straightforward one. So yeah, let's move on to round 4.
Cool, nice. So we're going to be revisiting a few that we spoke about in the past, because Splatter Skull was one of the first ones that was spoiled, and this is also another one that was spoiled very, very early on, and that's Channel the Lightning Valley. So
yes.
you can tell that I've been playing a lot of Lightning recently, because all of my cards are Lightning cards, but there we go. Yeah, this is really, really cool. So spoiled quite early on with some fantastic art, like these floating islands, and I love that. I love that aesthetic. I love anything that's sort of Zendikar-esque with like all this broken hillscape with floating in the air. It's very sort of Sonic the Hedgehog style 1990s thing. But yeah, so Channel Lightning Valley is a 0-cost lightning instant aura at Majestic. Doesn't block for anything because it's an instant. And it says the first time you deal damage to an opposing hero each turn, draw a card. So yeah, just a fantastic thing to. You can combat trick this as well, which is pretty cool. So if the opponent declares no blocks, you can be like, oh, okay, yeah, Channel Lightning Valley, then draw a card. It can be left on board and threaten the card draw if you're able to keep these lightning cards in your pitch zone, which most of the time you probably will do in Aurora. Most of the time you'll be able to keep it around for a couple of turns. So yeah, I think it's great, and it also is an instant. So obviously it triggers other cards that care about when instants are played as well, and other things that care about bouncing instants back to hand. So then you can then play them again to get other effects, or then remove your flow counters from it to then reset the flow counters, etc. So yeah, just loving the interaction. And the tactile feel of what Aurora likes to do. Although I haven't actually played with the cards in paper yet. That's a bit of a sin, but it's not released yet, is it? We need to get them first. But yeah, so can't wait to play with this properly, and yeah, just a good card, really.
Yeah, I know you like this because you've been talking about this in terms of Aurora, but I think this card is like crazy in Acilio because it triggers on each turn. The first time you deal damage each turn. So you can deal damage on your turn, draw a card, and then deal damage on your opponent's turn at instant speed and then draw a card as well. So you actually get a lot more value out of it. Yeah. With Acilio. Yeah, I think this is actually like kind of cracked with Acilio.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
That was the first thing that I thought of too when I saw this card spoiled. I'm like, well, we have a lightning wizard. Wizards will play instants and deal arcane damage on both turns. They have the ability to.
Yep.
So this like just being draw an extra card every turn. Yeah, I think this card's crazy. The fact that it is, again, also an instant, also a lightning card to trigger things like current funnel. This card's just perfect. You just play it in a lightning deck. It doesn't even, I don't think it even matters what lightning deck you played in, because even if it replaces itself, it is a lightning card that then triggers stuff. You can, like with the old cards, you can fuse with it. It's nuts. It's so good.
Yeah, if you played lightning card, you can then activate Aurora's ability to get an embodiment. You know, it's but yeah, it's good. I'm not obviously not thinking about it in Acilio purposes, but yeah, I imagine it probably would stay around for a lot longer, because I imagine Acilio is going to have a lot more lightning cards in the deck, or maybe some wizard cards as well that are just not lightning wizard. But yeah, just a decent card, and obviously it was spoiled quite early, but still making it to the list at the very end. So,
yeah. But yeah, so then that brings us to Kel's number 4. What you got?
All right, so you're gonna see a theme with the rest of my cards. This next one it might be some of the coolest art in the set. It's pretty awesome, and also I think has some pretty funny implications that I will say in a moment. This is Cut Through the Facade, which is a generic attack action. It's a 3-cost red pitch card. It blocks for only 2, but it attacks for 7. So this is like that really nice 3-for-7 Bull-Lander kind of area, which is really, really powerful. And it has 2 abilities. The first one is that it can't be defended by auras. And then it says, when this hits a hero, you may destroy an aura they control, which I think is really, really sweet. I really like this type of effect. I really like I like having like this suite of toolboxy generics that are essentially like silver bullets, and they keep printing these kind of cards, and this just adds to it. And I think this one's quite good because unlike previously, a lot of them are like 2-for-6s. I like having this one be a 3 for 7. Unfortunately, this doesn't go in my favorite deck, Uzuri, because it costs 3 and not 2. But I still really like this quite a bit, and I like this kind of design space. And then the art is just awesome.
Yeah.
For those of you listening on the podcast, I'm gonna say it: 100% Necromancer confirmed. It literally
And pirate confirmed.
It has a pirate stabbing a necromancer through the back with a massive, just an absolutely Final Fantasy sized
Chungus.
like saber. It is huge saber. It's actually like a necromancer though. Like
Yeah.
I'm not memeing or joking. Like it literally looks like a Diablo 2 necromancer, and in the background there's a bunch of like skeleton dudes. There's like some skeletons in the background, like, oh no,
Yeah.
our homie's getting destroyed. Like it's actually just straight up a necromancer. So 100% necromancer confirmed.
Yeah, 100% Necromancer confirmed. And this is this confirming that Necromancer is going to care about auras as well?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. So this card is killing the necromancer and it destroys an aura. So that does imply that auras are tied to necromancers in some way. And once again, look at the art. Tell me that's not a necromancer. The dude's wearing a belt with a skull on it, and he's got like long silver hair. And there's, like I said, there's like skeleton soldiers in the background. Like those skeleton soldiers don't belong to that white bearded salty pirate man.
No.
So just saying.
It's good.
Yeah,
it's a good pick actually. I could consider it in a few decks, especially because I'm looking at Aurora at the moment. She has a lot of blues, so this is basically just a 7 attack for 1 card, which could be used in the Illusionist matchup. So it's good to know that there are cards out there which you can just add in for whatever meta presents itself, which is pretty good. So the more cards like this that we get, like things like Weakest Link as well, which target instant and non-blocking cards, that could also be quite good at the moment if there's lightning running around. But yeah, I love cards being added like this as well, just generic stuff that anyone can use that might target a certain thing at the time, which is nice. So that's a good shout on that one.
Yeah, I think it's so funny. The line "this can't be defended by auras" is just so funny. Because
it is pretty funny,
if your opponent has the Everfest auras, they're just like looking at their hand and they're going, "God damn it!"
God damn!
Like it's actually pretty nasty against like Prism, because they'll be sitting with all like the little blue auras, and they're just like, well, can't block with these. Look at the rest of their hand.
Unlucky.
Well, can't block with these incidents either. Well, I guess I just take 7.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah, and then you destroy their. Is it Figment's auras as well? I think they might be.
I don't remember.
Sure.
I don't think. Or are the Angels auras too? Are they aura allies?
No, I don't think so.
No, they're. Yeah, hang on. I'm just looking at the Angels themselves. I think they are just allies, but yeah, Figments are just Figment, Light Illusionist instant Figment, so they're not an aura.
Yeah, I don't think it hits much of that stuff. I think it's better against the illusion, like the Everfest auras and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Genesis and
Well, and it's a cool way to not just lose your like obviously with this, unless you're giving it go again, you're using your action point to do the thing. But this way, you still deal 7 and you can kill their Genesis or whatever.
For sure.
Yeah, so it's still getting to do the damage. I think is still very strong.
Yeah, this is like very good against like Prism for sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because normally in those matchups you have to waste your entire turn killing the Spectra thing. So this is actually an answer to that, isn't it? So you still attack their face, but then as a result of doing that, you then blow up the thing. So it's kind of like turning Prism into Enigma's mechanics. So you can get around that, because Enigma is definitely a fixed illusionist to a certain degree. You still have to have a good DPS deck to get through, but it's a lot fairer. But yeah, I think it's good.
I mean, you can combine this with anything that gives a go again, like any of the cards that Az mentioned that gives a go again, and then you can follow that up and pop another thing with like your weapon or something.
Yeah.
So like in conjunction, this is like quite good at clearing like those Spectra cards.
It is, yeah. Nice.
Yeah, extremely strong. But yeah, speaking of extremely strong. I mean, I think all of these cards that we've talked about are just extremely strong. But this brings us to round 5, and honestly, I think we've picked some good ones to end off on. I think mine is maybe. I don't know that mine is necessarily on the same level as the two that you guys have picked, but I still really like this.
Yeah, yours is very good. I've encountered some really real issues with it. So carry on.
But yeah, finally we have Plow Under, which I've seen people refer to as Command and Compost. Yeah. Which, big fan, by the way. Whoever coined that one definitely deserves a crisp high five. But this is an Earth attack action. It's yellow. It's a Majestic, so it only comes in yellow. Costs 2, attacks for 2, and blocks for 3. It seems like a pretty medium stat line, don't you think? But thankfully, this has some more text on it. If there are 4 or more Earth cards in your banished zone, this gets +4, which, of course, with Decompose and the Earth heroes, you want cards in your banished zone. You actively want to banish them, so you're going to be able to hit this pretty consistently as just part of your game plan. And then it also says, when this attacks, you may banish 2 Earth cards and an action card from your graveyard. If you do, each hero puts a card from their arsenal on the bottom of their deck.
Yeah.
This is an on-attack trigger.
Yeah, it's vile. I hate it.
Yeah. Also, you technically only need 1 Earth card in your graveyard or in your banish zone when you attack with this, because it can then just banish 3 more to satisfy the +4. Because that +4 is like static. It's not on attack. It's just like if you have, then thing.
If this is true, then it has +4. But I think the crazy thing too is, even if you don't hit the +4, if you're able to satisfy the condition of banishing 2 Earth cards and an action card, even if it doesn't bring you up to 4, you still get the on attack trigger of bottoming your opponent's arsenal.
Yeah, it's vile.
Which if it was an attack reaction, way too bad, way too sad, right?
But
and
from like what I've been playing at the moment, you go on Talishar and you put open format. All the cards are legal that have been spoiled basically, and there's a lot of people testing Florians and all the new heroes on there. And Florian can use this, and it's just absolutely vile because they're built. Not only are they sort of speed running their actual end game scenario with banishing things, but their mid to late game is just insane as well, because they can do things like this. So when you're trying to set up 5 card, 4 card, and then the arsenal, they can just come in with Plow Unders, which not only screw your plan of going 5 cards wide, but then they accelerate their game plan by attacking you for 6 and getting rid of your arsenal. So all that setup you've done is then just decomposed away, because they're command and composting you, taking you out to the garden centre on a Saturday.
This does continue the tradition of cards named Plow Over just kind of screwing over your opponent and being pretty rude.
Yeah.
Because if those of you in the know, Plow Under in Magic is like you target 2 of your opponent's lands and they go on top of their deck. And where you're like, oh, it doesn't destroy them. It's not that bad. No, it's really bad. It's really bad because honestly, it ruins their 2 next draws. Yeah. It's so rough. It would be less busted if it destroyed them, because like you're saying, it then basically time walks your opponent for 2 turns. You just get 2 free turns where your opponent isn't drawing anything good, and then once they've drawn through those, they're back to where they started 2-3 turns ago. It's so rough. If they
inevitability.
If they don't have a fetch or some sort of tutor or something to shuffle their deck, it's like game over. That it's like a miserable loss too. So
it's similar.
I played that most in Cube. A lot of people liked running Plow Under in Cube for a while, and thankfully, a lot of people have taken it out because it's just not a fun. It's not a fun card. Especially when if you're playing in a power cube and on turn 2, you can literally go Black Lotus, Plow Under both of your lands, pass, and they're just like, okay, I guess I just lose.
God.
Anyway.
But it's a similar feeling in this as well, because let's just say you've arsenaled an Arc Lightning, which is going to be your big payoff turn next turn, and you've seen the other 2 Arc Lightnings already, and they're in the graveyard. Okay, so you've got a sick turn coming up. Plow Under. oh great, there goes my arc lightning, there goes my only lightning starter, and now my turn is screwed. Brilliant. I'm not going to I'm not going to see that arc lightning for the rest of the game now. Brilliant. So it's just gone to the bottom of my deck. I'm never going to see that again. It's horrible.
It reminds me of that Brute card. I can't remember the name of it, but it has a similar effect, right? That I think Bill chose it also as one of his favorite cards a set or two ago. It was the Brute card that also on attack yeeted their arsenal.
It was Sin Packing.
Yeah.
Sin Packing.
It's similar to that.
Yeets their arsenal, and then only if the attack doesn't hit, it goes back to their hand.
That's right.
Which is like, sometimes that's really bad in something like Living Legend. Putting a Plunder Run back into your opponent's hand, that sucks. That's really bad for your opponent.
It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny.
I didn't like that interaction either, because obviously my arsenal is like my Skullbone cross-trap arrow situation. So yeah, that's why I didn't like it. But Bill loves picking cards that I hate, which is nice little polarity on the podcast here.
This card kind of like,
oh yeah, that one as well. That
screws Ranger pretty hard.
Oh man. Okay. All right.
Brilliant.
Now up to number 5 for Az.
Yeah, sure.
Bring it home.
So just changing the card over here. So this one is called Gone in a Flash. So this is a pretty sick card. So this is a lightning action attack, 3 block, red, cost nothing to play, attacks for 4, majestic. When this attacks, the next time you play an instant this chain link, you may return this to its owner's hand. So if this has Go Again, which it probably will do in a lightning deck, you're able to play this, play something like a Lightning Press, or even something like a Sigil of Solace to bring this back to your hand, and then play it again, which is pretty sick. But then if you combo that with the other cards that we spoke about today, like the channel, the funnel, whatever it's called, you then can play that. That will have Go Again because you've played a lightning card already. Then the next card you're going to have is going to have Go Again, which you play the Gone in the Flash again. Then you could play something like the Electromagnetic Somersault to return the Gone in the Flash to your hand again. Well, not this, because obviously this one has it on its text, but you know what I mean here. It's just like a massive cycle of cards, and if you're doing this in conjunction with things like Arc Lightning, you're pinging them each time because the Go Again's there, and it's just fantastic, really. So absolutely love it, and love the feel of playing it as well. So Gone in a Flash is my last card, which I think is pretty cool.
And just to be clear, there is a window that you can activate this after it deals damage, right? Can you do that?
Yes.
Yeah.
As far as I know, yes. Which like completely raises not only the skill cap of playing this card, but also the damage potential.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think from what I've seen, there are ways to play this single Gone in a Flash like 4 or more times in a turn.
Yeah. You know what's really good with that then? Blink. Because Blink bounces this back to your hand and gives you an action point. So
and
before
gives you the action point.
Yeah.
Because Blink before was just like fine. I personally liked Blink and I played around with it, but it ended up just being not good enough. And Lexi already has enough action points and stuff. But when you bounce the card back to your hand, it can immediately just play it again. Every blink, like this plus blink, just means all your blinks become this essentially, right? They become 0 for 4s with Go Again, which is kind of wild.
Yeah, it's complete, like just ridiculous.
So
yeah, I think this is potentially one of the I think this is the card in this set that comes with the most rules baggage. Congratulations.
Yes. Yeah, Joshua Scott. You're going to have a fun time with this one, I'm sure.
Yeah. And then finally, for the last and certainly not the least or smallest, we have Kel's number 5 pick.
Round 5. It's big. It's real big. Okay, so I don't know if this is my favorite card, but I saved a real schlobber knocker humdinger for the last card.
Chungus.
This is big Chungus. Also some little tiny Chungus in the art as well. This is 10 foot tall and bulletproof, which is a 3-drop, 10 attack, 10 block, generic attack action. You heard that right. 3 cost, 10 attack, 10 block. And it says,
ridiculous.
When this attacks or defends, your hero gets a -2 intellect during your next end phase. And my response to this is, I don't care what my intellect is if my opponent is dead. This thing attacks for 10.
Yeah.
This card is stupid. in every meaning of the word stupid, this card is stupid. It literally makes your hero dumber because it lowers their intellect. It literally lowers their intellect and makes them dumber. If you block with 2 of these, you have -4 intellect. You have 0. If you block with 3 of these in CC, you'll have -2 intellect, which I think is hilarious. I think it should make you mill 2 cards or something.
But just imagine though. Just imagine if you had 2 of these in hand, you had 2 blues in hand, and you had an embodiment of lightning. You can just play one of these, crack the embodiment.
Bro, you just need like a
20 damage turn.
token.
Yeah, quicken token.
Like, there's a way to do. You can do this in like Brute. You can do that thing. Just discard and make
roll
a quicken
scabbies.
token.
Roll scabbies.
Yeah, you just like ten you. You know,
Cosmic Awakening.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally.
You know, you can also do
cosmic dumb.
Cosmic drinking.
yeah. You know, you can also do with this card, which I think is hilarious as well. There's a certain hero in Blitz called KO. Not the KO you're thinking of. There's a KO that doubles his attack. And so you can play this with original KO, do the roll, and if you get the roll correctly, this will attack for 20. So that's pretty good.
That is pretty good, yeah.
That's pretty good in Blitz in a format where some heroes start at 15 health. Attacking for 20 is pretty good.
Don't think of that.
So
wow.
Yeah, you can do so. You can pump it up. You can pump it up and then double its attack. Like this card is ridiculous. It's actually ridiculous, and it blocks for 10 too, which is actually pretty funny as well. It gets around almost every like dominate thing. They're like, oh, I'm gonna dominate for 10 dominate, and you're like, cool, I blocked 10. You do get the -2. You do get the -2 intellect, but you know there's a price to pay for the amount of insane Riz that this card has. So
it's kind of cracked.
And then I also want to mention one other thing that I think is really funny. There's two things. One of them, there's the art, which depicts some sort of like brutish type orc character, like just in a tavern. So hey, they're not all just like, you know, in loincloths running around the jungle. Some of them are in like the taverns and more civilized places, which is kind of cool for Flesh and Blood lore. And then the other one is the one that got me the most. The name implies that bullets exist in the world of Wraith. And now you might be thinking like, of course they exist. There's metrics. Show me in metrics where they actually have like a bullet gun. They're all like laser powered plasma techlo type stuff. None of them are like, here's a Uzi or like here's a Desert Eagle. Like that just doesn't exist in Flesh and Blood. But this card implies that bullets exist in Flesh and Blood. So the next time you see Reinar, he's like coming at you with a club, and then he just reaches behind his loincloth and pulls out his piece, and he's just like he's like
and starts blapping.
I don't want to see the piece behind his loincloth, Cal.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh god.
Reaches back, pulls out a gun. Who knows where it was?
I think if you look at this card, that's probably the reason why the text box is there, because this guy's got a big dong, just hanging down.
Big old stinger. So yeah, I think this card's good. I think it's weird, and I think it's like interesting. And those are the three things that I really enjoy. Yeah. So it's a really interesting card. It's a really splashy card. You look at it and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
It also is just silly, and like I said, implies that there's bullets. The very first Flesh and Blood like video game is going to be like a third-person cover shooter.
Oh my god!
You have like Dorinthia, and she's got like a machine gun.
Yeah,
she takes the cover.
It's got the Doom soundtrack like as well. Like oh god.
I have two very specific pros to mention about this card. Because they are both funny, I think. One of them has like real life implications, which is whatever. But the real life implication is that this isn't an expansion slot card. So I've seen a lot of posts of people being like, oh, I pulled this or my opponent had this. And if you have it, you just can't lose. Because in limited, this is a 3 for 10.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Fair card.
You get down to like four life and limited, and you're just like, whatever I have that has go again, 10.
Yeah.
Like,
that's outrageous.
Okay.
Good.
And then the other thing is that I think the German translation of it, I mean, I assume the European translations don't refer to him as 10 feet tall. They refer to him as 3 meters tall.
Oh, wow.
Weird.
There we go.
Yeah. That's a fact.
What's the meter to feet conversion? Hold on. I need to look this up.
Fun fact, it is not accurate. It is not the same. It is not equal. Because 10 feet
10
in
feet.
meters.
Oh, it's pretty close, actually.
It's very close, but it is not exact. It would be 3.048 meters tall and bulletproof.
Yeah. 3.04.
Doesn't have quite the same ring, does it?
Yeah. They're rounding down, and that's an injustice.
Right. Now it's unplayable in any language other than English. Wait, what's the Japanese translation? All right, Japanese viewers, if you're out there and you know Japanese, let us know what the Japanese translation is. Is it feet, meters, or something else? We'd like to know.
Nice.
But yeah, that's our top fives. That's everything. So we of course want to hear from you. If there are any cards that we didn't mention that are your favorite card from the set, please let us know down below.
Yeah.
There are actually so many sweet cards in the set, to be fair.
There's
probably missed a few.
I was really close to picking. I didn't pick it because Az picked so many lightning cards. Oh no, wait, it was a wizard card that I was going to pick. There's one that just like lets you play something as an instant, which is like kind of crazy.
Eclectic magnetism, I think you're on about.
Yeah. So it's a lightning card. Yeah, I didn't pick it because Az picked so many lightning cards, but yeah, eclectic magnetism is really cool.
Yeah.
Because when it attacks, it's not even an on hit. When it attacks, you can play your next non-attack action as though it were an instant. And it's just a 1 for 5 that also blocks 3, which is like kind of crazy. This card's like kind of sick. So I was gonna pick that one as one of my cards too.
It reminds me of Rifting, because Rifting does the same thing, but it has to hit, doesn't it? From Arcane Rising.
Yep.
Yeah, this is just like better Rifting. I love Rifting, by the way. It's if you watch like my old videos or some stuff, I talk about Rifting a lot. I thought it was really cool.
It's fun card.
So yeah, I think this is just like really good.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think that a really cool sort of almost a proof of why of how many sweet cards are in this set is that I'm the only one that mentioned a legendary, and I only mentioned one.
Yeah.
Like we usually talk about like at least some of the legendaries because usually they're pretty interesting. Like I could have talked about Lightning Greaves as well. I think that card's crazy.
I mean, it gives your dudes haste and hexproof. Of course, it's really good.
Yeah, exactly. For 0. But yeah, like there are. I think all of the legendaries in the set are sweet. The Fabled is also like randomly pretty sweet.
Yeah,
I think the Fabled's like the best Fabled they've printed since probably Eye of Ophidia. I think it's like, that good. Yeah,
it's so crazy that like Wizards wanted to play Eye of Ophidia because it's a blue that sets up the top of your deck for Kano stuff. This one is like so specifically for Wizard that you just now play both. And now you have something that also deals a damage on pitch. Like it's a -3 cost zap.
Now you have a $500 deck with just those 2 cards.
Yeah.
Yep.
Actually, I take that back. I think this is probably closer in power level to Arknight Shard. But Arknight Shard is much more limited because it's only Viscera, not just Rune Blades. Where this one can be in any wizard. So I think it's closer to Arknight Shard. But that's still pretty cracked. I think Arknight Shard is actually pretty cracked. So
yeah, I think so too. But yeah, anyway, I think that will just about wrap up this episode of the Living Legends podcast. Do either of you guys, I'll kick it over reverse alphabetical, kick it over to Kel. Do you have anything for your Arsenal step?
Ooh, I've been doing a lot of stuff. I mentioned this already, though. I've been doing a lot of stuff with other card games. Outside of that, we talked about Warhammer last week. I've been buying some of the battle tomes. Are really cheap for 3rd edition because the 4th edition ones aren't out yet, just to kind of figure out what I'm doing with the armies and stuff. Other than that, I've been playing some video games. So I played through Space Marine 2. It's really good. It's just more Warhammer stuff. I do like the Warhammer franchise, and I've liked it since 2010 or so is when I really got into the Warhammer stuff. Maybe 2006. And then so one thing I can't talk about that I haven't mentioned at all, I reinstalled a game called Sea of Stars. And I might have talked about this last year, but Sea of Stars is an indie turn-based RPG, and I absolutely adore it. Out of all the games that I've played over the last 2 years, everything from Diablo 4, Alan Wake 2, Space Marine 2, all these big budget AAA games with millions of dollars and backing and graphics and all that stuff. Sea of Stars is a retro pixel art turn-based RPG, and I think I might like it more than all of those games. It's so good. The story is very lovely. The music is beautiful, and they have free DLC coming out very soon. And so because of that, I installed it on my PS5. So I originally played it on a PC, and then I bought the collector's edition for it, which came out afterwards. And for the collector's edition, you could either buy a PC or like a PS5. And I was like, well, I already own the PC version, so I'll buy the collector's edition for PS5 so I can have both versions. And it came with a vinyl, like a two disc vinyl that has like all the music. Like, so the music's beautiful, and like each of the records in there, they're colored with the themes of the game, which is the solstice. So like sun and moon. So one of them is like red, the other one's blue, and came with like some books and stickers and stuff. And I've been playing through that again. It's as lovely as I remember. I cannot recommend it enough. It's very cheap. It's just a pixel art style turn-based game. It has an active battle system, so you do have, it is like turn-based, but you do have like timed hits that you can do to get like bonus damage or whatever. You have timed blocks. If you like Chrono Trigger, if you like Golden Sun, I cannot recommend it enough. You will adore it. Those are two of my favorite games of all time, and it doesn't copy them, but there's definitely some inspiration from there, and you can see it, and it is excellent. And I'm not going to spoil any of the story, but it goes in crazy places and genuinely inspired me creatively to work on a kind of like a game project that I've had on the back burner, and it really inspired me to take it in some directions that maybe I'll talk about someday. But it's really good. So yeah, Sea of Stars is mine. Yeah.
Nice.
How about you guys?
I need a new game.
How about you?
I'll say I need a new game to satisfy my downtime when I travel the next month. So maybe that's one to download, perhaps, for that flights and airport shit. But not really having too much in the Arsenal step. I am going to a gig tomorrow in Birmingham. So I'm going to go see a band called North Lane, which are Australian band that have come over to do a European tour. So they're playing in Birmingham, which is about an hour and a half drive away from Swindon. So yeah, going down with my mate Nick, who used to play drums in my band that I was in. So yeah, he's going to be driving us down there. But yeah, North Lane are like a metalcore band, but also have these like sort of atmospheric synth-like elements in their music as well. A lot of EDM inspired stuff as well. So I think it's going to be an awesome gig. I've never seen him before. And Kale from Dead Summer Art, he's from Australia. He's seen him a few times because they're an Australian band. So yeah, raves about them. So I can't wait to see them. So probably grab some merch, maybe like a hoodie or a t-shirt there as well. So I'll report back to Kale as well how that went, because raves about them. So should be good. And then just Warhammer stuff as well. So I managed to prime. I've built a lot of my models now, and I managed to prime them in black paint. And I've been researching how to do the slap chop painted method. So that's going to be being done soon. And I've actually booked a table on Sunday. So me and two mates are going to go down and learn how to play with our armies that aren't really painted yet. So that's happening on Sunday as well. So that's about it really. And then a channel update on my my YouTube as to what I'm going to be doing going forward. But it's mainly just much more of the same.
What format are you guys going to play? Are you going to play Spearhead, or are you going to play just kind of like standard 4th edition Age of Sigmar?
Not sure yet. We'll probably start with Spearhead stuff, just because that's probably the most user friendly. But we'll see what happens. There's 3 of us, so we might just run our armies into each other and just see what happens, just for the crack.
Yeah.
Just to get used to rolling dice, and because it's quite a friendly game because it's phase driven. So they have different phases and things trigger in different phases. So it's not going to be too hard for us to pick up as avid TCG fanatics. So we'll see. It's just measuring things and moving things around, more of a board game sort of style thing. But should be fun. And then also I'll mention on the end of this as well that I have started a new Flesh and Blood team, which I think is hilarious, called Team Turd, which is open to anyone to join in, and we've had quite a few members to join already, which I think is hilarious. And Sunflower Samurai, one of the best teams in the entire of the Flesh and Blood sphere, have already followed us because they think it's hilarious that I'm putting together a team of remarkable individuals for
what I want to see. I think the idea is funny. But what I want to see is I want to see someone from Team Turd like make the top 8 of a high profile event.
That's all I want.
When they interview them, they're gonna be like, yeah, I'm on Team Turd, and then hold up the shirt and it's got like just a big piece of shit on it.
Literally, that is one of the goals. That is one of the goals.
to have that on like official Flesh and Blood coverage would be so hilarious.
Exactly. That's
so funny.
That's what I'm aiming for. Because
I want Brian Gottlieb to do the interview.
You're an Az's team, right? Team Turd.
What's your team name again?
Team Turd. Yeah.
Tell us about the story of Team Turd.
Yeah. But yeah, so you know me, I'm all for sort of weird and wacky initiatives and turning them on their head, similar to like the League That Means Nothing. Just having a highly edited video series with casting and coverage and all this, but it means absolutely nothing. Similar to that, I've taken that same ethos and was like, yeah, I'm going to make a Flesh and Blood team, but just full of crap players with no accolades and no pressure.
That's not true. I saw that Pascal joined. Yeah. He's like the Swiss national champion. Yeah. So like you have some players, you got some ball players.
We got some good players. But yeah, Pascal was the first Swiss national flag bearer. He was at the first Worlds that we went to. When he did the procession for that. But yeah, so lots of things going on. But if you want a full story, I speak about it for 30 minutes on my channel as to what I'm going to be doing going forward, and I rave about all these things. So that's on Go Again Gaming. But apart from that, I guess unless you've got anything going on, Bill, we could probably just wrap it up now.
Yeah, I don't have much for myself. It's just been busy as always. But
nice.
Yeah. That'll just about do it for us here. Once again, I've been Bill from the Spike Feeders. We have let's go. I think it'll go this way. We also have Kel, also known as Red Zone Rogue.
Hi, I'm Kel, also known as Red Zone Rogue. You can find me everywhere at Red Zone Rogue, where I post a lot about mostly like anime style TCGs these days. But if you follow me on Twitter, you get a crapshoot. Like once I mentioned that I've been really getting into Warhammer, so I've tweeted about that as well as other card games and stuff. I also like to tweet about like TCG industry stuff, and that's something that I like to talk about every now and then just on Red Zone Rogue as well, is I like to talk about TCG industry stuff. And yeah, so if you like card games, you can go follow me on things. If you want a variety of card games on YouTube, go follow me on Red Zone Rogue. I'm getting pretty close to 20,000 subs. Yeah. I think we might actually hit it by the end of this year, and we have something pretty cool planned for that. So
nice.
Stay tuned for that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we also have Az from Go Again Gaming.
Absolutely, yeah. So Go Again Gaming on YouTube. I've already spouted that already, though. So I will mention that on my little tab here, on the X or Twitter profile, whatever you want to call it these days, it says Go Again Gaming AZ /Team Turd Fab. So you can, so you can go and follow the shit happenings of Team Turd Fab over
I've
on.
been here the whole time, and Bill and I didn't even know. We didn't even know.
No idea.
Didn't even know. So yeah, it's on there. So that's also going to be. So I'm basically posting all the player profiles on there like each day of the people that are joined. So yeah, you could go and have a look at that. But yeah, that's it really. Good stuff.
Nice. Yeah. And then I'm Bill from the Spike Feeders and from the Living Legends podcast. You can find me on Twitter at BillTSF. You can also find me on YouTube at the Spike Feeders Fab, where we do live edited gameplay content. And like I sort of mentioned, with drink them under the table. I don't know. Betsy's looking pretty good right now, and I have this nice fancy one, which is always a reason to make a deck. So. Oh
yeah.
We didn't even mention. We hit 500 subs on this channel, and that we're gonna be doing we're gonna do a thing at some point. Probably not for a couple of weeks, to be honest. But yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out a time that works for everybody. Might be a little bit of finagling to do that, but we did hit that. So thank you very much, everybody, for following, for supporting, for listening, watching. We love you. Thank you very much. Extremely appreciated. And yeah, stay well and stay safe, and we will catch everybody in the next episode.
Yep. Thank you very much. Nice. There needs to be like a sound effect on the stream or something that I can just play, like a sound card.
Oh, yeah, like the, hold on. Where is it?
There it is. Yeah.